What's up, guys? Good evening, and welcome to Roma Theory. We're back as if all the progress that we made has been collected in a handful and chucked away in a bin. These defeats sting, man. And I kind of had the feeling we had kind of eliminated the feeling of losing at home against these teams with the process of maturing. But yeah, I mean, these defeats are the worst. These defeats make you question everything that you've made and that you've built, right? Because the season hasn't started yesterday. It hasn't started this morning. The season has started 2 months ago. And these are the defeats that make you question every element of progress that you made. Because these defeats are unacceptable. You can't lose these games. You cannot lose these games, especially when you have them at home. You can't. And the first thing that I wanna say is, if there's one thing that as an Italian football club, if there's one thing that this week of football has taught us, is that maybe we're too presumptuous at times. And that maybe it's better to look at yourself in the mirror and actually analyze what you've got. And I'm not just speaking on the behalf of Roma, I'm speaking on the behalf of the Italian football movement. This thing happened to Napoli on Tuesday. Going into a game with too much conviction, going into a game knowing that you're better than them, but not proving it on the pitch. And maybe it's time for the entire movement of Italian football to eliminate this presumption, which is what characterizes us, get a great mirror, and before these games, look ourselves in the mirror and go, am I better than them? I am, because I'm not doubting that we're better than Viktoria Plzen. Do I need to prove it on the pitch? Yes, I do. Because the 2 goals and that 20-minute blackout that you had today that costed you the game is the classic 20-minute blackout of a team which steps up into the football pitch knowing I'm better than these farmers. I can rest, I can keep it chill, I can transition the ball slower because I know that I am better than them. And then what happens? 1 shot, 1 goal, 2 shots, 2 goals, and you're absolutely fucked. And you look at the Europa League table and you read your name in the 23rd position, with teams like Viktoria Plzen, with teams like Sparta Braga, with teams like Midtjylland, with teams like Olympique Lyon looking and leading the table. And you're like, maybe there's something that I do wrong. Because if Midtjylland is top of the Europa League table, it means that maybe I need to act in these games with less presumption. Maybe it's about time that before stepping on the pitch, I look at myself in the mirror and go, I am better than them. I'm not doubting this, but I will prove it and put them to bed and go home and archive this game and move on. There are so many things that I want to speak about. I'm not going to keep it too long, guys, because it's late, because I have an exam tomorrow very early. So all the coder reactions will come tomorrow afternoon. If I'm not reading many comments, apologies, I will do them tomorrow. I want to kind of get the core done and get the best and the most important things out there. I think a lot of people will start, a lot of people will question, will start questioning. The one thing that I will eliminate already, I don't even want to speak about it, is people who will go sack the manager. We've gone through the De Rossi period, the Juric period, the Mourinho period, the Ranieri period. You know me. Before blaming the manager, unless your name is Ivan Juric, the world needs to fall on you. A loss is, I'm not going to say understandable, because this defeat isn't understandable. If you lose a game once in a while, it's part of the progress. However, it's become a recurrent pattern now. You've lost against Torino at home. You've lost against Inter at home. You've lost against Lille at home. You've lost against Viktoria Plzen at home. When one anomaly starts turning into a pattern, that's when you start analyzing it. So people will start questioning the manager. and the manager's picks, and I go to them two things. One in favor and one against. I'm going to start with the against. The one thing that I will criticize Gasperini for today and in previous games is this insisting with Artem Dovbyk. You will laugh at me because I hate on him and criticize him in every single game. And I will actually be part of the minority and say that today I saw some light. In a sense that I saw a player who is shit, remains shit, but tries to do something and tried to do something. I've seen other games where Dovbyk was an absolute ghost. Today I saw something. Now, is that something good enough? No, it's not. Dovbyk remains shit, absolutely. The thing that I criticize Gasperini for is this insisting on Dovbyk. I've said this about 8 times and I will say it again a 9th time. Dovbyk is a lost case. I'm not saying Ferguson is any better because Ferguson got subbed in today and probably played even worse than Dovbyk, to be honest with you, right? But there needs to be a moment where things flip, where we can't insist on the same problem every single time and try something new. And that something new, in my opinion, is starting Ferguson. Ferguson might be even shittier than Dovbyk, yes, but let me see this before actually coming up with this hypothesis. Because yeah, it is true that he played shit today, but we're analysing Ferguson based on 10 minutes per game. It's not enough compared to what we're analysing Dovbyk with. So we can score goals. We can't score goals. We need new solutions up front. Why the hell am I forced to see every single time Dovbyk getting in and starting games? It makes me want to fucking grab my hair and chuck it in a fire pit and burn it. That's how desperate I am. Okay? I don't want to see Dovbyk in the starting 11 again. And people will go, Dovbyk is not the problem. Dovbyk doesn't get served well. No, because today Dybala served him perfectly and he can't stop a fucking ball. He breaks the mechanism every time. So I want to start seeing Ferguson start. Will Ferguson be worse than Dovbyk? Fine, but let me prove this first before testing Ferguson on a 10-minute daily basis. Okay? The strikers are an issue. So I will blame Gasperini on this insisting on something that clearly isn't working out. And I'm going to blame him for that. Why is this happening? I said this yesterday. It's clearly a financial move. It's clearly because the board has told him not to start Ferguson, because if Ferguson plays a certain amount of games, the trigger clause will trigger and we will have to spend 40 million on him, something we're not in a position to do and want to do. So I wasn't joking yesterday in the match preview when I said this. The reason Dovbyk is starting is only because of a financial reason. But if it's costing us games, then we need to try something new. Number 1. Other thing. Dybala played great. Dybala today was the only one who played. And you know what? There was a moment, in fact more than a moment, at least good 20 minutes today, that you know what in this game today makes you say that the striker and offensive situation is so damn sad and depressing. 2 things. Number 1, the fact that for a good 20 minutes, Mancini had to be your striker. Mancini, our centre-back, was placed in a striker position purposely because our strikers are so bad. Okay, so number 1. Number 2, the fact that we can't even score a goal on open play when you've got Dybala, Dovbyk, Ferguson, Bailey, Soulé, El Shaarawy all on the pitch together. It's so desperate. It's so desperate. When I said to everyone, yes, let's enjoy the moment at the start of the season where we were winning games, I was saying, let's enjoy the moment, but there are problems. And don't let this moment of ecstasy eliminate these problems. Because whenever we lose a game like this, these problems are gonna hit you. Like what do you call it? A stick. You walk in the park. You know, in cartoons when you walk in the park and there's the scene of a character stepping on a stick and the stick going like this, bam. I said this. Don't let the ecstasy eliminate the problems. The problems are there. And the second we're going to get a reality bite, it's going to hit us hard. And the problem is this, absolutely this. We don't know what to do with the ball. We don't have a good direction. So there are elements that Gasperini, of course, needs to be blamed. I will not blame the manager. I will, in fact, after such a defeat, say this again. Gasperini, if backed, will be the manager of our next Scudetto. I am convinced, and I will say this again, even after losing such a game, and it's probably the last thing that we need to speak about. Okay? The reason Gasperini doesn't need the majority of blame is because this team is not suited for the way he wants to play. And people will go, well, he had the transfer session where he could have demanded for players and improved the team. He didn't get backed in this transfer session. This is, when transfer deadline day, because you see, people might not like me, but I don't categorize myself as a stupid person. I categorize myself as somebody who understands things. When on deadline day, and go back on that deadline day stream, I was saying this transfer session has not been good enough. It hasn't improved the team. Look, it's not being negative, it's being real. I am a realist. Gasperini got backed in one position, and that position is Wesley, a player he desperately wanted. Gasperini didn't want El Enaoui, he wanted Richard Rios, and we know that as a fact. Gasperini didn't want Dovbyk, and Dovbyk stayed when you could have easily tried and unlocked that Santiago Jimenez swap. Ferguson, I'm starting to question because it's a very weird situation, because part of me believes he really wanted to gamble with Ferguson, but now the fact that he isn't starting Ferguson also suggests to me that maybe he didn't want Ferguson. Apart from that, what did he achieve? This team is not better than last year. This team lost a massive piece when it comes to Paredes, and it probably lost a massive piece, not a massive piece, but placed in this context, it lost a heavy piece when it comes to Eldar Shomurodov. I wasn't Eldar's biggest fan, but Eldar in this current situation will start every damn weekend and would probably win us games. So you need to be patient. You need to be patient. The fact that we're 1 point from the first position in the league table is something positive, because coming from somebody who knows Gasperini, who follows Roma every week and who lives in Rome, I was expecting us to start the season around the 10th position. So in my opinion, he's overachieved. Then, of course, you can agree. Has he been lucky? Yes, he has. Has he kind of been the manager he wants to be, distributed the tax that he wanted to distribute? Yes. Okay, you can question that. But if you ask me now, has he achieved, overachieved, or underachieved? He's overachieved. Because with the worst team, he started in a way that I wasn't expecting, clearly. Going back to the game, Ziolkowski makes a mistake, but I don't think it's fair to be harsh on him. He's 20 years old. He's going to make more mistakes. What else? Hermoso, I don't know that man. That man is a selective offspring of some weird paranormal sexual activity between a psychopath and a zookeeper. Like, I wouldn't be able to write a book about Hermoso and about the way Hermoso thinks and how Hermoso makes football decisions. Like Hermoso to me is like sometimes he looks like, I'm not even joking, prime Varane, and other times I would be convinced that I would do a better job because it feels like sometimes his brain switches off. So yeah, I mean, Hermoso is a very weird character, a very weird football player. He is as physically tempting, not in that way, don't get me wrong, at the same time extremely vulnerable. Like he's a very weird player. I wouldn't be able to like codify him, but he's a vulnerability at times, and what a vulnerability he is. And I mean, the first goal is a mistake. The second goal is a goal where you're like, well done. Second goal you can't really do anything and say anything. Problem is that first goal. That first goal should never have started in the first place. But again, I don't want to be too harsh on Zielkowski because if we're too harsh on Zielkowski, we're gonna have another situation where we're gonna lose somebody who has a lot of potential. So I think the biggest takeaways from this game are that, as always, and I will sound repetitive, but the problem is that our strikers are not good enough. Our strikers are not technically good enough, and I'm very confused with Ferguson because I'm like, he started off really well. I was very pumped up by him, and I would actually argue that the reason he's playing like this now is because in the first place he was put on the bench. I think one of the things that Gasperini got wrong is exactly this. Is exactly this. I think Ferguson started very well in the first game against Bologna and played a very good second game against Pisa. There was no reason to change hierarchy and start Dovbyk. A goal was gonna come. He was playing good. But then this decision of putting Ferguson on the bench completely destabilized him. And now you have a player who's kind of lost it and isn't stopping balls. Our players don't understand our strikers, and our strikers don't understand our players. So every time our players serve our strikers, the mechanism breaks. This is a game that you did not have to lose because you now have 2 defeats and 1 win, and you've had 2 home defeats, and one of these 2 defeats came in the easiest game of all. You're currently 23rd. This is a very similar start to last season's Europa League. The ability that we have to overcomplicate our Europa League paths is something undescribable. I thought last season taught something. Maybe it didn't. It makes me so annoyed because seeing Midtjylland top of the Europa League says a lot. But as always, we have to start eliminating this presumption, and I don't want to bring it in. But, Midtjylland and Braga leading the Europa League race says a lot about this Europa League. But if you can't capitulate, then it's all your fault. It's a very bad defeat because now you have to travel to Scotland twice away. And yes, people will say Rangers are absolutely dreadful. They're last in the Europa League table with 3 defeats. You have to travel to Scotland, and that alone is a pain in the ass. That alone is complicated, and that alone will pose hostilities. So where you go from here in the Europa League is complicated. I ain't gonna lie. We will qualify, but I'm not sure if we will qualify in the top 8, which, again, if there's something that we had to learn from last season is that. But look, Roma is this, guys. If you're new here, get used to this. This is who we are. A mentally unstable football club. A football club which suffers of PTSD. A football club which suffers of presumption issues far too often. And it's probably been limits of our success in our recent history. I'm going to catch you tomorrow with a further talk on this game, also analyzing what players and manager have to say. And then prepare for Sassuolo, which is another pain in the ass. It really is. Yeah. Holy shit. It's a very bad defeat, this. Very bad defeat. This will sting. This will probably sting even more than Lille, to be honest. We have to be better. That's pretty much it. Yeah. There's not really much I want to add, because I feel like the more I add, the more we get into this infinite loop. The problems are there. I've tried to decipherate them in my match reactions ever since the season started. I received attacks, I received comments saying that people agree with me. You can think whatever you want. The problems are very evident. Strikers are not good enough, and our offensive threat is not good enough. Once you improve that, maybe we will see progression. But until you have this, we won't go far. Speak to you soon. Simo out.